Welcome to Mickey, Marvel, and More, Disney news, commentary, and opinion. From theme parks to Thanos and from Skywalker to Skyliner, my family and I will discuss it all. So let's go!
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hello, Mark here, and welcome to another episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More. Thank you so much for joining us, and also thank you so much for all the kind comments and encouragement that we've been receiving. We really appreciate it, because this type of endeavor is clearly a labor of love, and the only reason we do it is because we really enjoy these topics and love sharing it with you. So thank you so very much. Later on in this episode, Laura and I will sit down and finish our conversation about Disney by the numbers. This time we'll talk about the kind of daily planning that we do during our Disney theme park trips, proving once again that she is clearly the brains behind this operation. So stick around for the family chat that's going to be packed with great info. But before we get to that, how about some news from in and around the Disneyverse?
I can do this all day.
Marvel just can't seem to get away from the behind-the-scenes drama these days. X-Men 97, the animated TV show helmed by Beau DeMayo, is just on the horizon. And Beau has been a Marvel regular recently, who previously wrote on the live-action series Moon Knight, as well as early drafts of the upcoming vampire thriller Blade. He had completed Season 1 of X-Men 97, and his writing duties on Season 2 have been finished as well. DeMayo was lining up press events and making plans to attend the Hollywood premiere on March 13th. But last week, seemingly out of nowhere, DeMayo and Marvel parted ways. X-Men 97, a continuation of the 90s animated TV show, is set to premiere in just under a week. Beau has been super active on social media all the time, often talking about X-Men, and then suddenly radio silence. He deleted his social media accounts and just seems to have vanished. I guess it isn't all that uncommon when you leave a job to not say much about it, I suppose, but to just click Control-Alt-Delete and disappear altogether seems a little like overkill. As of the time of this recording, not much else has been said about the parting of ways. Maybe we'll get more info in the future. Most fans of the 90s X-Men animated TV show are super excited about the continuation of the story that's going to happen in X-Men 97. I just hope this doesn't mean rough waters are ahead for the new show. We'll keep you posted.
This is not Santa's workshop. It's just one section of a creative world where new attractions for Disneyland are conceived.
Some news out of Anaheim this week. Disneyland officials cleared one of the final hurdles on Monday for its theme park expansion plan. It's all part of a bigger plan that they've been calling Disneyland Forward. This approval will hopefully jumpstart at least $1.9 billion of new development at the Anaheim Resort over the next 10 years. It was approved by a 5-1 vote by the Anaheim Planning Commission. It's taken almost 3 years of reviews and analysis to get to this point, so it finally looks like things are going to start to happen. This week, the project will go before the City Council for its final approval. Basically, this doesn't give Disney any more land to build on, but it gives them way more flexibility on their ability to build on their 190 acres that they own in Anaheim. Bob Iger this last week was making a really big deal about saying that they had the ability to build 7 more lands in Disney theme parks all over the world. Recently, they had announced doing something involving the world of Pandora in Disneyland. Maybe that's what this is going to be. Or maybe it could be something like Zootopia. We're just going to have to wait and see. It'll be nice to see them add something to Disneyland without having to remove something else, which has always been the curse of their small size out there on the West Coast. I personally would like to see them do something original, but I feel like the days of the Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion are far behind us. It will most likely be one of their pieces of intellectual property for sure. But either way, I'm always up for something new to visit at Disneyland Resort.
Hey, we don't serve their kind here.
What?
Your droids. They'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
Okay, now for some really bizarre Star Wars news. And quite frankly, one of the funniest Star Wars-related news stories since the release of the Star Wars Holiday Special. The best part about this story is it's a story that was 20 years in the making. Now, we've all heard about ad placement in movies and TV shows. That's something that's been around for decades. A star in a movie will drink some Coca-Cola. A star in a movie will drive a BMW, that sort of thing. But this takes in-movie advertising to a whole new level. Back in December 2003, Channel 13 out of Chile, South America, was showing the Star Wars original trilogy on television, and they decided to incorporate beer advertising into the films themselves, complete with a jingle when the beer itself was revealed.
Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza Cristal.
So they shot their own alternate footage of close-ups of various hands in Star Wars outfits, revealing the beer Cerveza Cristal in various ways. Just reading it, okay, it sounds pretty dry, but trust me when I say this is some really funny stuff. After the original airing of these spots, George Lucas took them to court so it would never happen again, meaning these things haven't seen the light of day in 20 years. Lucas must have really come down on them and had them bury this deep in their archives for it to take this long to show up on the internet. Somebody online got a hold of these spots and edited them together in one long reel, and I'm sure this is going to become the stuff of legend. It's like watching a Saturday Night Live fake commercial, except this was real. It has to be seen to be believed. Do yourself a favor and click the link in the show notes and watch the greatness happen before your eyes. You're welcome, and may the Cerveza Cristal be with you.
Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza Cristal.
If you are standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the doors. The monorail will depart momentarily. Thank you.
We are back with our family chat this episode to finish out our conversation about Disney by the numbers. And this time we're going to focus on the kind of planning you do on a day-to-day basis while you're there visiting the parks. To finish out this conversation, I'm bringing back my lovely wife, Laura, and you're going to start us off.
I am. Thanks for having me back. So these are the kinds of planning that I do each day while we're in the parks, like you said. And that planning actually starts the night before we visit a park. So this would be something that I would do in the evening. It only takes about 5 minutes to do these steps, but I think it saves a huge amount of time and hassle in the morning when everybody's tired, everybody's trying to get ready, and everybody's excited to get to the parks. So the first thing that I do the night before is I will pack my little backpack that I take to the park every day. And I'll start by taking out any trash or anything that's in there that I don't need for what we're doing the next day. And just to give you a little sneak peek inside what my Disney backpack looks like.
Ooh, a sneak peek.
I'm going to give you a quick rundown on the bag contents. So, of course, I'm going to put in there things that I need like hat and sunglasses, magic band, cash, cards, ID. I also want to make sure I bring enough sunscreen for everybody to reapply during the day, a little bit of lip balm, any medicines that we might need, including things like pain reliever or allergy medicine that always seem to be needed randomly at a day in the park, any Band-Aids, hand sanitizer, of course, water bottles, any snack, gum or mints that people might want to munch on while we're waiting in line. Of course, a phone charger, an extra battery, those are critical. Particularly with my Disney experience, you use your phone a lot when you're in the park, and it really can run down the battery life.
It is a real battery drainer for sure.
So having the extra battery is an almost critical. I make sure that we bring a personal fan. I don't know how many times that has saved us on a hot day, standing in an outdoor line, just to have a little bit of wind can make all the difference in being absolutely miserable and barely comfortable.
Right. Yeah, in the summer, it can very much be a ridiculous sweat box, and that just that tiny bit of air feels fantastic. And I think the best feeling in the world is when you walk into a building that's air conditioned and then you start using that fan. It's like double air conditioning.
I agree. Nothing better. I also will make sure that I carry a rain poncho or a mini umbrella, again, depending on if the forecast calls for rain that next day.
In Florida, it rains almost every day, so it's always necessary.
A couple of extra items I always make sure to pack in my bag hair ties and a comb. Roller coasters can really mess with your hair, and sometimes you just need to make sure you pull it back in a ponytail and make sure you have plenty of hair ties to do that.
And I look fantastic with a ponytail, by the way.
Yes, adorable. I also like to pack one of those nylon shopping bags that folds up really, really small. You can buy Disney shopping bags in the parks, but they don't fold up really small to carry around with you and reuse from day to day. And I find that it's a lot more comfortable to use these nylon shopping bags if you're buying several things and carrying them out of the park versus one of the free plastic Disney bags that you get. Or I think it's even more comfortable than the Disney shopping bags you buy at the park because the handle on the nylon shopping bags I bring is a little thicker, a little more comfortable to carry.
Yeah, and especially since they have not reinstated the resort delivery for things that you buy, you do have to carry these bags around. That's why we will usually, if we're going to buy something major, buy it at the end of the day on the way out. But sometimes you find something you want to buy, and as we have learned with Disney parks, if you see it, you buy it the first time you see it because you may not see it in another park again.
Yeah, even if you're buying it at the end of the night, you still have to walk sometimes from the back of the park to the front of the park to the bus stop, and then from the bus stop to your room. So you're still carrying that bag sometimes quite a distance.
I'm getting flipper boo-boo-tosis just talking about all this walking.
Then another thing that I used to pack when the kids were smaller, but I don't necessarily need to pack anymore, is what I like to call waiting prizes. So one of the things that we would do when the kids were small to make waiting in line a little bit more bearable is to just have a few little small surprises that you could pull out that they could play with either in line waiting for a ride or when you are waiting in the lobby for a show to start, or sometimes even if it's a longer wait, waiting for a dining reservation. You never know when that unexpected wait is going to come during your Disney trip, but sometimes if you can just pull out a little toy or something else that is new, it can make all the difference.
Here, look at this shiny thing while we wait. You won't be bored at all now.
It works.
It does.
So once I've got my Disney bag packed, I will then turn to making sure that everybody knows what they're going to wear the next day. And I also like to make sure that everybody has their hat, their sunglasses, their magic band all in one spot. And in fact, usually our kids will put their sunglasses and magic band inside their hat and have it waiting so that there's no scrambling around for those items the next morning. Then I make sure everybody knows what the plan is for breakfast the next day. If we are going for breakfast at a restaurant somewhere, I'll let everybody know to make sure that that's the plan. If we are planning to eat breakfast in the room, which is often the case with us, I'll let people know that too. And sometimes I may even, for younger kids, lay out their breakfast the night before and point it out to them so that they know when they get up, they can just go grab their bottle of water, grab their cereal or whatever it is that they're eating that day, and it's already ready to go. Then the night before, we will talk a little bit about the touring plan for the next day. We'll make sure everybody knows what park we're going to the next day, what time we want to arrive at the park, and then back into what time we need to leave the room. And that's really the critical time that I want to make sure everybody knows that by 7:30, for example, everybody needs to have gotten ready, is ready to leave. And if they haven't eaten their breakfast yet, then they'll need to bring it along with them to eat on the bus or while we're waiting for the bus. Then we also will talk about what time we want to leave the park then the next day so that everybody has an idea of what we're doing, if we're going to another park, if we're going to go swimming, if we're going to go to Disney Springs. Everyone kind of knows what the general plan is. We'll also have a discussion about any must-dos at that park the next day so that everybody knows, again, what to expect and what's going to be the priorities for our park touring the next day.
And that way nobody misses out on something they really want to do and everybody knows it because we've talked about it.
That's right. Good communication and setting expectations is key. That's also a time when the adults want to decide whether or not we're going to buy Genie Plus for the next day. Now, you can purchase your Genie Plus at midnight on the day that you're going to that park. But there's really no need to do that unless you are there at a very busy time of year. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, July 4th. Otherwise, if you just want to get up early the next day and purchase Genie Plus, a few minutes before you start trying to get those Genie Plus reservations, that's generally plenty of time. They don't typically tend to sell out on a regular attendance day.
That's true, because you can't start making reservations for the park that you're going to until 7 o'clock in the morning. The only advantage to doing it at midnight is just one less thing you have to do when you get up. And sometimes that extra 5 minutes of sleep makes all the difference.
Yeah, that's a valid point. But you're right. You can then start making those Genie Plus reservations at 7 a.m. And that's also when you can start making any virtual queue or buying individual lightning lanes. You can also start doing that at 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. is a pretty critical time if you're buying those extra add-ons.
Yeah, I've done that with bleary eyes many a 7 a.m.
Then the last thing that we typically do before we leave in the morning is check the weather. See if any rain is forecast for the day, see what the temperature is going to be, just so everybody has an idea of exactly how hot and miserable it's going to be over the next few hours.
Yeah, that is definitely important. Although if it's in the summertime, you know it's going to be hot and miserable, and it's probably going to rain.
Yeah. So I know that may sound like a lot, but literally it's only about 5 extra minutes of planning the night before and maybe spending 5 minutes booking some Genie Plus reservations at 7 a.m. before you head out to the park. But I think just taking those 5 extra minutes the night before and the morning of makes all the difference for a smooth touring day at the park.
Yeah, definitely 100%. You are without you, I think that we would be lost and scared. The boys and I would just be rocking back and forth in the corner in the hotel room, not knowing what to do.
Oh, I think you'd figure it out.
Maybe. Speaking of being in the hotel room, a quick programming note about Mickey, Marvel, and More for the episode following this one. Normally we would drop an episode every 2 weeks, but it happens this time that the 2-week window is going to fall directly on top of our spring break. So we aren't going to have an episode again until April 8th. Yes, we will have the episode on April 8th. But the good news about this is it's going to be an all hands on deck, because for the first time, if all things work out, that episode for our family chat, we're going to have a full-fledged family, that's a lot of F's, trip report. So we're going to have all 4 of us here, myself, Laura, Zachary, and Parker. We're going to get the whole family here to have a discussion about the spring break trip, our likes, our dislikes. We're going to be staying at a new resort this time for the very first time. We've never stayed at the Boardwalk before, so this will be our first time staying there.
So would you say that this is going to be a full-fledged 4-way, full family chat?
Yes. I would definitely say. How long were you sitting there waiting to say that? I could see it in your eyes. You're like, as soon as he stops talking, I'm going to say this really complicated sentence. And it's going to be great.
I was thinking about it for a while.
Yeah, I thought maybe you were. So yeah, we won't be back with a new episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More until April 8th, but it's going to be a great one with our full-fledged what was that again? Full-fledged family fun feasty chat. I don't know. Feasty? Is that a word? I just made it up. But anyway, be sure to join us on April 8th when we come back after our Walt Disney World spring break trip.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The spring break trip is always a lot of fun, but I think it's going to be really neat to finally have the whole family involved in the family chat. So we will see you then. Thank you so much for being with us here on another episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More. Before we head out, a big thank you goes out to Laura and all of the hard work she did in putting together all of the great info on our last 2 family chats. not to mention all of the hard work that she does for us every single day. The boys and I definitely hit the lottery. Well, either that or she lost a really awful bet. Be sure to check out our show notes for any of the stories that we talked about in this episode, as well as links to all of our socials. Be sure to hit us up with a like, follow, or comment. We would love to hear from you. You can also drop us a line at our email address, mickeymarvelandmore, all one word, @gmail.com. Once again, a quick programming note reminding you that we'll be on spring break in Walt Disney World, and we won't have another episode until April 8th. But it's going to be a fantastic one because we will have our very first all hands on deck family trip report. Be sure to join us. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, my name is Mark, and this has been Mickey, Marvel, and More. If you didn't, well, this has been Shaky the Clown, and you've been listening to his audiobook entitled, Why Do I Cry Myself to Sleep? We'll see you next time.